All right, so continuing with the short ideas, a short little couple of minute synopsis videos to supplement the reading and the chapters. We're just going to go through Baroque vocal music in a bullet point, very simple idea of what the main ideas of the Baroque vocal music was. So obviously the most important form of music or new genre that comes out in the Baroque is opera. The type of opera that is used in the Baroque is called opera seria. Seria meaning serious opera. So these weren't comedies. Comedies actually come in the next time period. Opera seria were based on historical plots and were kind of deep and tied to antiquity. The lyrics of an opera are called the libretto, and the person who writes the lyrics is called the librettist. Most composers do not write the lyrics. Think of it as like a screenplay. Somebody comes up with an idea, they might have a writer to help them work out the grammar and so forth. There are two types of singing styles in opera that come about. The aria, which is the solo singing where the plot stops and all the action is on the actual singer. And that's usually like a solo song or maybe a duet that we can actually even take out of the opera because they become so popular and sing them as individual little songs. And then there's recitative. Recitative or recit is essentially the spoken heightened dialogue. It's just the basic dialogue that gets us through the opera plot. So two types of singing, aria and recitative. The church, of course, with the popularity of opera and people and patrons paying money to go see opera, wanted to get in the game. And they did this by attempting their own new genre. And the new genre created is called oratorio. And an oratorio is essentially a religious opera. And they're trying to feed off the popularity of opera. So an oratorio is essentially an unstaged and non-costume religious-themed opera. So obviously, if we're going to do an oratorio in a church, we're not going to wear sexy clothing. We're not going to have dragons fall out the ceiling. We're not going to have bustiers. We're not going to have swords and murder and taboo subjects like in the operas. So essentially, it's a concert setting, but it's telling some sort of story that's religious in nature. The most famous oratorio, and you've all heard it, whether you know it or not, it's played in Lafayette every year. It's played in almost every orchestra and choir in the entire world every year. And that's George Friedrich Handel's Messiah. In our listening test, you will listen to the very famous excerpt called the Alleluia Chorus. So oratorios, unlike opera, it does use a lot of chorus singing because the church already had well-established chorus that was very good at doing their job. And so you hear a lot of choir numbers in oratorio where you're not going to hear much choir singing in an opera. Okay, so that Handel's oratorio will be on the listening test. You'll have a file attached with all the tunes and how to study for it later today. The other main vocal work is called a cantata. A cantata was normally a secular vocal work, so not a religious work, of a moderate length for voice and instruments. So a medium length, weighty work, but not something that's astronomically large like an opera. However, in Germany, they were often used during the Lutheran church service, and they were of a religious nature sometimes, but only in Germany. And Bach is known for his famous cantatas, and Bach actually had to write one every week for his church services. And so you will find most of your cantatas, if you research or just pull it up, you're going to find that good old name of the Baroque, Johann Sebastian Bach. So that's a quick, simple synopsis, couple of minutes of the vocal music. So we have opera, the most important genre that comes about of the Baroque, maybe the most important part of the Baroque. Two types of singing, aria and recitative. We have oratorio, religious opera, and we have the cantata, normally not religious in most countries, a medium-length work for voice and instruments, and then in Germany, often used in the Lutheran church service. All right, so that's your synopsis of Baroque vocal music in a couple of minutes.